brand new episode of Sequel Rights, the podcast where we take a look at the franchises that make you go, they made how many of those? And we give each and every sequel a fair trial. My name is Justin Camps, and I'm here with
Elizabeth Helly
and
Tyler Hymanson.
And we're kicking off a brand new franchise tonight. We're done with Benji. Dogs are lame. We're over dogs.
How dare you.
Benji went off to live at the farm upstate.
I'm tired of watching movies with dogs. I want to hear some dialogue.
Okay, well, before you alienate everyone who loves dogs, let's say a big welcome to any of our new listeners. We're glad that you've stuck around after Benji. We swear we won't be that negative about dogs. And you can find all past episodes at sequelrights.com.
They're just jokes.
Yeah.
I love the Benji movies.
Yeah, must love dogs. Yeah.
It was fun, but you know what? We ran out, so we got to
no
do
more
something
Benji.
else. There's got to be more episodes.
Get on it, Camp Family.
Mm-hmm. We're waiting.
So this week, we're heading into uncharted waters. Not open water. Which, if you haven't, go back and listen to those gems. We are getting into the straight-up comedy, the straight-up genius of The Naked Gun.
The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad.
From 1988.
Starring the amazing Leslie Nielsen as Lieutenant Frank Drebin.
If you want to watch along, all three movies are available on Stars.
And please, before, if you are following along, please rate and review us on iTunes. If you can, 5 stars go a long way.
And if you are following along, like Tyler said, you may or may not have seen this trailer that we're about to listen to.
In this city, there's crime on every street. But one man has seen enough. He's Lieutenant Frank Drebin.
Whatever scum did this, not one man on this force will rest for 1 minute until he's behind bars. Now let's grab a bite to eat.
He's a good cop who's having a bad day. His best friend
Everyone should have a friend like you.
is in a coma.
As soon as Nordberg is better, he's welcome back at Police Squad. But I wouldn't wait until the last minute to fill out those organ donor cards.
His girlfriend asked him to look her up.
Nice beaver.
Thank you. I just had it stuffed.
Let me help you with that.
And his city is in the hands of a master criminal with a sinister plan.
I must kill the queen.
How can any police story contain this much action? This much romance?
I like cops.
Or this much baseball? Starring Leslie Nielsen, a cop who's always on the alert. Mikhail Gorbachev.
Oh man, I'm laughing already. This is so funny. The trailer. You don't even have to watch the movie, just watch the trailer.
That's what they say.
That's what they do say that, don't they?
They do say that.
Well, I saw the trailer, so I guess I don't have to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Those are bad trailers.
They are. The island blows up.
Before we get started here, have any of you seen either this film, The Naked Gun, or any of the other films in the franchise?
Yes, I have, but I cannot tell you which bits belong to which version, to which movie.
Yes, correct. That's how I feel as well. But some of the stuff in this movie is really like nostalgic for me.
Yes.
I don't think I've seen any of them.
No.
I've seen
I thought there was way more OJ in this movie.
Oh well, there's a lot.
Yeah,
of OJ.
you definitely made it seem like there was going to be.
There in further installations, there certainly is.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the first film in the Naked Gun series, directed by David Zucker. This is the the well-known Zaz collaboration. David Zucker, Jim Abrams, and is it Abrams or Abrahams? I don't know. Jim Abrahams.
Yep.
And Jerry Zucker, who are also responsible for another instant classic, Airplane, which came before this.
So the TV show was on in '82 on ABC, and they canceled it after 4 episodes. I read.
They aired 4 episodes and then burned off the last 2 like randomly in the summer, like they used to do. And I don't know if any of you have seen this TV show, but It is hilarious.
I was just watching some of it before we started recording over at Justin's because it's, of course, a special feature on the Blu-ray. And it's just the movie. If I saw this back in the day, I would have lost my mind.
Yeah. You know, it was, you know, famously ahead of its time, I think.
Yeah.
But just, you know, it was running up against, I think at the same time slot was like Magnum PI and some other show. And they just didn't stand a chance and got canceled.
I read that later. I think TV Guide rated it as one of the like most stupid cancellations of all time. And I guess ABC said like, well, you know, we just had to cancel it because like people had to watch the show in order to understand it.
Yeah, exactly.
And the critic was like, that's the stupidest reason I've ever heard.
Well,
like,
back
so
in
it's
the
consistently ranked one of the worst decisions of cancellations.
Well, you know, we still have this today with like reality TV and whatever other stuff. Even just sitcoms, but you know, a lot back then too. A lot of people just like, you know, did other things while they watched TV, and you know, if you weren't paying attention to this show, just like the movie, you miss all the sight gags, all the funny lines. Like you don't get it if you're just cutting in every once in a while. You're like, wait, what?
What's
this
happening?
a comedy?
It's a cop show?
Yeah, is this a comedy? Is this a cop show? I don't know.
That's like when I try to watch Legion.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's confusing for all sorts of reasons. But yeah, so you know, the show is great, and you know, somehow they were able to make a movie out of it, and the movie was bonkers successful.
Yes.
And yeah, we get 3 of them.
Cool.
So
and the patented Zaz formula, and it's proven that it works on television because 30 Rock is basically this show.
Yeah.
But these are joke engines. They are made to pack in the most jokes per minute on screen time.
Yep.
Like it's about efficiency, and all of these movies are amazing at it, and it's so much fun to watch.
Yeah, and at the time, you know, they had done Airplane, and then they did the show, and then they did The Naked Gun. At the time, you know, it was like the whole impetus for Airplane was like, what if we took, you know, serious actors and put them in a deadpan parody film?
Yep.
And that was their MO for like that and this, and it's just like, it's amazing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the comedy can really like just be kind of whittled down into like 2 categories. It's either making fun of a common trope from TV or movies and like everyone deadpanning it and acting like nothing's wrong, or the characters or a character is taking everything completely literally.
Yes.
And that's the joke. So those like almost every joke falls in one of those 2.
Yeah,
I
it's
think.
I feel like there's a fair bit of satire as well.
Yeah, I think it just that all comes back from the tropes, and like I think but.
It's like, yeah, it's endless sight gags.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, like you said, everyone just taking the dialogue literally, which
Yeah,
I don't know what you guys think of that, but I just think it's so funny that...
Justin, you're asking if I enjoy wordplay?
I like the wordplay more than the sight gags.
Someone will, you know, he'll offer, he'll pull out some cigarettes and offer someone he'll be like, cigarette? And the person will go, yes, those are. That kind of thing. And then like, you know, it's completely deadpan because no one will even react to it. He'll just be like, okay.
There was only one character in the entire movie that like acknowledges that this guy is like not all there and that something's wrong, and that's like either the mayor or the city councilwoman or whoever. Yeah, the mayor. Yeah, she's the only person in the whole movie that ever says like, this guy is incompetent.
You're on thin ice, Drebin. He's like, hey, if I see 6 weirdos stabbing people in a park, I shoot, and I shoot to kill. That was a Shakespeare in the Park reenactment.
Like, you killed 5 actors. She's the only person that calls him out on his shit for the entire movie.
It's so great. And she like does that whole like calling him out, and he just goes, yeah, whatever.
Even the villains, like nobody calls him out except her.
Yeah.
So.
The villain's always like, Drebin. That crafty so-and-so.
The villain, you know, portrayed by Ricardo Montalban, who's amazing in this as well. He's just a great bad guy. That face. So
Classic bad guy.
Yeah, he's great. And we should say, you know, this is the role that Leslie Nielsen is like known for.
Yes.
You know, he like we mentioned earlier, they were basing these films off of like using serious actors. So before this, he was all over TV, and
like the list it's got like thousands of credits.
SWAT and like MASH and
right.
and he played police procedurals
and he was the captain in the Poseidon Adventure
and like Fantastic Planet and he was a serious like real deal actor.
And then he was just game to be like, I'm going to turn my career on ahead here.
Yeah.
and he was like, I think that he was the runaway hit star of Airplane.
Absolutely.
And so they built the series and then movie around him.
That's probably how they got like approval to do it. They're like, look, Leslie Nielsen's gonna be there. It's the same kind of comedy.
Yeah.
Who cares if it's based on a failed television
Exactly.
series?
Yeah.
Like, all right, fine, do it.
It's really funny too. If you watch, if you go back and watch the TV series too, and then watch this first movie, I don't remember the other ones quite as well. But if you go back and watch them like back to back, you'll see a lot of the same exact jokes. Even
Sure.
like some of it is just straight ripped from the.
It's
TV
like the
show.
British and American Office, and then from there they go their own way, probably.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So, I mean, this show, I think the thing we were afraid of is just it becoming a list of gags that we love. But, guys, what is your favorite gags in this movie?
I love the scene where he has broken into, I think Ricardo Montalban's character is Ludwig?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ludwig, yeah.
He's broken into his like apartment and he's trying to find like some dirt on him.
Without a warrant, and he's like, he'll be in and out.
Yeah, he's like, no problem. And the first thing he does is find this like control panel and pushes a button that says piano, and it's like this crazy like player piano goes off like do 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 do, like playing the Entertainer or something like that. And he turns that off really quick, and then very quickly, like he sets something on. He finds a piece of evidence and he's looking at it with a lighter. And of course, you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
He sets it on fire, and he's like in his mad dash to set it out, to put it out. He flips the piano back on, and it's like, and he's like running around the room.
It proceeds to burn the entire apartment down.
And break everything and burn these like famous paintings that he has, and like, you know. The thing about comedies is like I love to go watch them with a crowd, because a lot of times I'll watch them by myself and they'll be like, you know, you watch TV shows and comedies all the time. You'd be like, that show's really funny, but you never laugh out loud. This I watched by myself and I was laughing at that part and others throughout the film, which is, I think, really great. What about you guys?
I think that one of the things that I remember, and I not even necessarily as a piece of this movie, but like one of the funniest jokes of all time to me is there's a scene where they end up at Angel Stadium and they start showing like
Which is definitely Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
Parts of it's Angel Stadium, parts of it's Dodger Stadium.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I can do a whole baseball park breakdown if you want.
Yeah, I mean, you probably should at some point.
You're Mr. Baseball.
Mr. Baseball.
Finally, a baseball-related film for you.
I know we were discussing doing a couple other baseball-related films, and I was like, I didn't even realize it's the Angels. Like,
Yeah.
score. But they set up this thing where they're at the stadium, and it just goes to the scoreboard to show you baseball bloopers. And it's like normal baseball bloopers, long enough where it seems plausible. You see some of them, and then like a car just drives out and destroys a dude, or like tigers come out. Or the best one, the thing I laughed so hard, and it's something that's just like in my comedy DNA is when the outfielder goes to jump to get the ball, and his head hits the wall, and it just pops off.
Yeah, and then it cuts to like Dick Vitale's face, like horrified.
And I think that's one of the funniest things on the planet to me.
Yeah. What about you, Eliz?
You know, I don't even know. Like, I did think the movie was funny.
Oh,
so, like,
okay.
don't jump on me. But like, there's nothing that stood out to me really. I mean, I did definitely laugh out loud a couple times, but like right now I can't remember like any specific thing that like was my favorite or whatever. We should probably say too, just like the very briefest outline of the plot is that he's in this thing called Police Squad. It's a special part of the police force, and they've been tasked with protecting Queen Elizabeth on her visit to LA, and there's some other like weird plot going on her life, and so he's trying to stop it, sort of.
And there's drugs.
Yes. And there's OJ. So
OJ was there.
So you thought the movie was funny?
I did, yeah. I don't think I loved it as much as you guys.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing that like I'm like, oh, that was one thing was so funny.
Oh.
Maybe the refrigerator scene, I guess. That could just because it grossed me out so much.
Yeah.
I was like, that's pretty funny. Like where all the food's really wrong.
That was
and
super
stuff. Yeah.
gross.
So
I'm glad you liked it though, because I was like, you know, earlier today thinking like, oh man, I'm nervous that like, you know, Eliz hasn't seen this and she'll just not think it's funny at all.
no, I definitely think it's funny. It's just it's not what like the comedy I would choose to watch if it was like pick a comedy to watch.
Right,
you know,
right.
like I would probably but I definitely like. I think it's funny. I get it. Like
Nice,
I do think it is very like. This style of comedy is like not really done as much anymore. I know you
Right.
mentioned
No.
like 30 Rock, but 30
Yeah.
Rock is even more like I would say parody and like pop culture references, where
Oh,
this is just
totally.
like straight up like literal things and tropes.
Yep.
And so it feels like a little bit antiquated and very like male driven to me. So.
Yeah, we Tyler and I were talking a little bit earlier today about how like the movies of watching it nowadays, thinking about everything that's going on, it's pretty sexist.
It's pretty sexist.
I'm not gonna dance around it.
as a lot of the comedies of the time are.
For sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
like a lot of some of the vacation movies, like all of
Yeah.
it is kind of what was happening in comedy at the time,
And yeah, and I feel like it's something that it's worth bringing up. Like we can go back and watch these movies and still enjoy them for what they are, and realize that nowadays, like if something like that was made now, it would just be unacceptable.
right.
Yeah, it was. So it is really sexist. The character played by Priscilla Presley is obviously like 40 years younger than Leslie Nielsen, so it's really gross. But she's just like super into him or whatever.
And there is some parody. To
there is,
that.
yeah. They
yeah.
don't
they're
like
definitely-
fully, yeah.
Totally.
It's not totally like she genuinely is,
Yeah.
but I think probably the most like overtly part where I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me, was when at the end when she's hypnotized and she's like, must kill Frank Drebin or whatever. The way that he gets her to snap out of the hypnotism is by proposing with an engagement
yeah.
ring, and I was like, come on, like that's the one thing that does it, I was just like, ugh. Like, but other than that, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, like
There's a scene with Priscilla Presley's character. We talked in the Benji films a lot about like the sudden switch to stuffed animals and stuff. And there's a scene where Ricardo Montalban is like trying to force her, like kidnapped her and like trying to force her up the stairs to get out of the baseball field.
And everyone's going nuts. So she's just carrying a dummy.
Yeah, and just like tossing her back and forth, and you still hear her voiceover of her going like, ah, ah, ah. It's like very clearly just like a stuffed person.
Yeah, I thought it was funny too because at some point she like straight up bites his arm when he's about to shoot, and I was like, "That's a classic Benji move right there." Like,
There's something about this type of comedy where it takes something that could get a light chuckle, where it's like that's pretty silly, and then it goes so far beyond that. Like
Yeah.
it is so much about like. That's a dumb joke, but we're gonna push it so hard it comes all the way back around to hilarious.
Yeah, like there's speaking of the comparisons to the original TV show too, the opening credit sequence is exactly the same as the Police Squad show. Same song. It's like an iconic the Naked Gun and Police Squad theme is iconic by Ira Newborn. And it's like the roof of a police car like driving down the street, but it's driving all erratically, and they're showing the credits, and then like suddenly it's like driving on the sidewalk, and then it's like driving into someone's house, and
driving into a locker room full of naked women,
And it seems like a seamless shot. Like it's technically impressive.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
great.
Apparently, I listened to some of the commentary on the Blu-ray, and apparently they had like a cart that they were pushing around for that.
And then they just superimpose the siren on there after. Like,
well, I think the
No, they had
I think
the
the cart
siren on
had-
oh, they had it on.
Yeah, I think the cart had the siren
okay.
on there and everything.
Cool.
The commentary, okay, so we had I had the Blu-ray, and there's a group commentary.
Wait,
on
you had the
there.
Blu-ray?
I had the Blu-ray.
Oh yeah, there are Blu-rays too.
Yeah. And I listened to some of it. I didn't listen through the whole thing because it's actually kind of like listening to another track of jokes. Because it's like I don't remember who was all on there, but it's like one of the Zucker guys and then a couple other guys, and they're just like they're saying things as a joke, and they're also like giving out like real tidbits of information, and sometimes it's hard to tell. But there's like a scene in the beginning where it's like OJ sneaking around on the docks, and one of the guys is like, "Oh, is this like real footage of OJ?" Or and then they're like, "Oh yeah, we got a call about like a knit cap once, or maybe it was a glove or something." They're like joking about what happened to them.
I love that. But the movie does start and I think it's a really great way of explaining kind of what it is. Airplane does a little bit of the same thing where it starts as this is a serious world. It's establishing the trope of like this is what this is. So OJ is creeping around the docks. He's spying. There's a sight gag of a ridiculously large radar thing that he's using to listen in on. but he's listening in at the harbor to see what's going on. And I love he gets shot in this scene. And it is the perfect example of like, all right, here are the type of jokes you're going to get in this movie. Because he starts stumbling around and after he gets shot and like,
God,
and then gets his hands caught on an iron, like gets a windowsill closed on him, then like stumbles into some wet paint.
paint.
Yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
oh no.
Yeah.
And then he steps into a bear trap.
He falls into a wedding cake.
Yeah.
That was when I was like the moment he kicked the door in and his foot just went through, I was like, oh, this kind of movie.
Yeah.
Well, because like the first scene is just Leslie Nielsen taking down all these dictators around the
Right.
world,
Gorbachev
but
and
there's
such.
not as much of like the literal comedy in that. So that, but then when I see the scene with OJ, I'm like, okay, like now I know what we're here for.
Yeah.
I don't know. Should we talk about OJ?
Sure.
I mean, it's OJ. Like, he went to USC.
Peak OJ.
He might
Peak
be
OJ.
a murderer, but like I can tell you from firsthand experience that nobody at USC cares at all.
That he's a murderer?
They only care about football. Like they do
God.
not care at all. Like they recently released some article to like Bill Plaschke saying like, oh no, like OJ's totally not welcome on campus. Like that was the president of the university. When it comes to the athletic department, he's totally welcome. If he will give money, he is 100% welcome. They just opened a brand new state-of-the-art dorm across the street from USC named for Al Cowlings, AC, the driver of the white Bronco. Like
Oh
they
my
took his
God.
money and they named the dorm after him. Like,
Wow.
no one cares.
No shame over at USC.
Nope.
That's crazy.
Not at all. And also the woman, I forgot to write her down her name, but the lady who plays Nordberg is OJ, the lady who plays his wife
Oh,
in
Susan
the whole hospital
Bobian?
scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
She actually plays one of the jurors in the American Crime Story, People versus OJ. And so like that's sort
crazy.
of funny. Like I wish I knew what she was thinking, you know, or what she thought about that whole situation.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So yeah, those are the OJ things.
The entire thing that I remember the most from, because I watched this movie when I was younger and loved it, and then me and my friends were like going, I was obsessed with this and obsessed with Airplane, almost everything the Zucker brothers.
How old were you?
I mean, I don't know when it was.
Like
I saw
high
them.
school or
Yeah,
like
probably
younger?
high school.
Okay.
I saw Airplane when I was like I was like
Yeah,
8 or 9.
me
Yeah.
too. But then I didn't really remember it much. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think honestly, it's funny because I was like, I think I saw it when I was younger too, because I remember being like, "There's boobs in that movie."
Yeah.
It's a comedy that has boobs in it.
And I remember because Airplane was PG, and the
Yeah.
movie runs across topless, and I remember my dad had totally forgot that was
Exactly, because it's like a split second
Yeah.
thing, right? But then, like, yeah, me and my friends, we were, the Zucker guys are involved in like mafia, and then they eventually they did. David Zucker directed Basketball, and they eventually got into the Scary Movie franchise in Scary Movie.
So
3.
did Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah, so did Leslie Nielsen. So, like, we were going to see all these like parody movies, like, and we saw Leslie Nielsen in Wrongfully Accused.
Yep.
Like, so I was like obsessed with this kind of stuff. So the thing I remember most is the whole baseball sequence at the end,
Yes.
which we kind of talked about a little bit. But like one of the classic things is, there's this guy named Enrico Palazzo that's like this famous opera singer, and he's gonna sing the national anthem, but Frank Drebin, he knows that one of the players is gonna like
Kill the queen.
assassinate the queen.
Yeah.
So he has to figure out a way to get on the field and try to figure out who's the killer. And so he knocks out the opera guy and goes out on the field dressed up as Enrico Palazzo. And they're like, "Ladies and gentlemen, famed opera singer Enrico Palazzo," and it's like starts the national anthem, and he sings it like
Really badly.
really badly, and everyone's looking around like,
And then he forgets the words.
yeah.
And the movie does not relent in this joke. He sings the
Yeah.
entire
song.
Yeah. And he's like making up words like, "Then there still was a flag," and all these things like. And it's so great because eventually he becomes an umpire. He dresses up as an umpire to feel up all the players. And at the end, he eventually, stops.
To see if they have a gun on
Yeah,
them.
exactly. To pat them down. So at the end, he eventually thwarts the assassination of the queen, and he takes off his costume, and this guy in the crowd goes, "Hey, it's Enrico Palazzo!" And everyone's like, "Enrico Palazzo! Enrico Palazzo!" It's so great. So everyone in the crowd thinks that this opera singer guy saved the day. I don't know. That shit is so funny, and it's like one of the. I think that's like one of the iconic scenes from the movie. And that line, even in the credits, like once you go through the credits, there's a bunch of people that are credited just by what
just by their lines,
say.
Which I thought is
kinda
amazing.
Liked. Yeah, that's way more illustrative than normal.
The guy who says it's Enrico Palazzo is like Tom.
Yeah,
Smith
in the credits, like before it lists the cast, it says people who acted in the movie, and then it lists all of them by like these crazy things, and all these weird things are in the credits. Like, and then towards the end, like one of the credits says "in case of tornado," and then it says "southwest corner of basement." Like that's a credit. Like, I was like, what?
Yeah. It's like, we got crazy Benji credits, and now
I know. If you thought Joe Camp's credits were crazy, just wait till you see these.
The Zaz credits.
Yeah, the Zaz credits, man. I don't know. I loved it.
I think one of my favorite sight gags in this movie, Justin and I were talking about it earlier today, and I think that it's something that I think of every time.
Every time what?
Every time somebody like every time that someone even mentions like I practice safe sex.
That was my least favorite joke in the entire movie. I was gonna bring it up as the joke I hated the most.
And then it cuts to them into like full like human sized condoms.
Because I thought that scene was pretty funny when they were like talking all sexually by the fire. I was like, okay, this is funny. As soon as it shows those condoms, I was like, you lost me. Like, I'm out.
So funny.
I'm out of this.
I thought it was here, and they're like, they show the wrappers and it says like Titan size or something. I don't know. They made those condom wrappers.
Yeah. Art department was paid to fabricate oversized condom wrappers.
There are probably teenagers that snuck into that movie and then thought that that's actually how condoms worked.
I'm sure, probably.
Probably not the worst misinformation they've gotten about sex in their lives.
That's true.
They didn't get the joke. Yeah.
So I guess the marching band in this movie that eventually runs over Ricardo Montalban's character at the end. So he falls off Dodger Stadium. He gets run over by what first? Like a truck.
Some guy's like, "You killed him," and he's like, "Nah, it's just a tranquilizer dart."
Yeah, and then he falls off the side of Dodger Stadium. He gets run over by I think just like a big rig, then a steamroller, and then the USC marching band comes and like marches over him.
Tramples over him.
It was actually the USC marching band. This is like one of their first film roles that they talk about all the time. It was after Tusk, but it was before some of the other things. But I mean, the lines were actually pretty straight for them, especially back then, but the spacing was pretty bad. Nice. My roommate was watching this too. She's a band director, and we were like, oh, whoa, the lines are actually pretty good because we were both in the USC band. And she was like, yeah, but that's spacing. And I was like, that's true. But the recording is not them. It's actually the Rice University Marching Owls playing Louie Louie.
Nice.
So.
And that scene ends with Frank Drebin's boss, Ed Hawken, like in tears. And he's like, my dad went out the same way.
It's funny because I thought they were actually going to be named in the movie because I've heard this scene talked about so many times. Like I thought there was like a thing where they say like, and then he got marched over by the USC marching band, but they're really not.
You would have never known almost if you didn't know.
Yeah,
Like,
if
you didn't know what they look like.
That was
their
the
colors and
the
stuff.
Dodger Stadium parking lot.
Yeah, the colors and the Trojan drum major.
Or just skip the credits or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Weird Al Yankovic shows
Weird
up
Al
in this.
Yankovic.
Yes!
Actual Reggie Jackson's in this movie.
Yeah.
Like
Lots
so
of big
much
cameos.
fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we went to
Dr. Joyce Brothers.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that part too. Tyler and I went to a Weird Al concert at the Hollywood Bowl this past summer, which was amazing. But in between the songs, when he was doing costume changes, they just showed like clips of cameos that he had made in a bunch of movies, and that was one of them, which I didn't know at the time. But then when I saw it today, I was like, "Oh, that was in the Weird Al clip show."
That's so funny. Apparently, when the movie was out, he would take like his dates to the film without telling them that he was in it. I was reading this
That's
online.
fantastic.
Like, so he would go there for first date, like, let's
Humble
go see
brag.
Naked Gun,
Yeah.
and then the girl would freak out, like, oh my god, that's you. I mean, that's a good strategy.
That's awesome.
You go, Weird Al, work it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that scene was great too.
Yeah.
Another thing, I know we talked about like that it's really sexist, but I was kind of surprised. There's a lot of like implied gay jokes, but they're not that offensive. They're actually dealt with like very like, oh yeah, you know, like there's a like when he's patting down all the guys on the field, no one ever says like, hey, get your hands off me, you know, like it's never like seen as a gay
I mean,
thing.
even before when he knocks out the opera singer.
Yeah, exactly. He
Yeah.
knocks out the opera singer and he's taking his clothes off so he can dress up as the opera singer. So the opera singer's like, you know, like laid over a table with his butt in the air, and a janitor like opens the door and he's like, oh, sorry guys, and he just leaves. Like there's no like there's several times where like, you know, gay things are implied and it's never seen as like a negative. It's just kind of like, okay.
Was it in this movie, or I might be confusing with the TV show? He goes on like one of his long like rambling speeches about how he had a roommate that was a guy. Was that in the movie?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, never mind. Okay. That was on the TV show then.
But I mean, there's a part where he said like, what's going on? He's yelling at the girl and he's like, what's going on between you and Ludwig? And she's like, nothing. He likes East German men. And then he's like, oh, okay. And then they just go on. Like, it's like, okay, whatever. Like, so I don't know. I thought that was like surprisingly progressive. So who knows?
And like we said, one of the smartest and most self-aware characters in the film is the female mayor of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Who's
Which, like,
really
has
funny.
there even actually been a female mayor of Los Angeles?
I don't know.
I don't believe so.
Not that I know
I would
of.
guess not. I would guess not. But
Sigh.
yeah. Other fun facts: the Queen Elizabeth, the actress Jeanette Charles, who played Queen Elizabeth, was actually Queen Elizabeth impersonator. That's how she made her money before being in this film or after.
What do you pay a Queen Elizabeth impersonator to do? Or more specifically, what would you pay a Queen?
What would I
impersonator
do?
to do?
Go away.
Show up at parties, I guess.
Look, everybody, it's Queen Elizabeth II.
I mean, I feel like a lot of celebrity impersonators used to get a lot of work, like on late night shows and like maybe Vegas or something.
Yeah, totally.
Speaking of celebrity impersonators, I don't know, it just made me think of George W. Bush. But didn't George W. Bush or Mitt Romney or someone actually do the thing where he left his microphone on and went backstage and like did
like what
at a
happens?
political rally? Like what happens to Leslie Nielsen? He's wearing the lav mic and he goes to the bathroom and you hear him like pooping and peeing and farting.
I mean, because
singing.
I know that's like a trope of like I've seen that joke before,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering
if this is the original.
this is the first time
the
it
hot mic.
happened.
Well, I mean, wireless mics weren't around for too long before this.
Yeah, that's true.
Some Republican did it recently, like within our lifetime. I can't remember.
Yeah, I
who
can't
it was.
remember
If it was
either.
Sounds like a
Bush or
W. That
Cheney, maybe
that
Mitt
sounds
Romney.
like classic W.
Yeah. I don't
Classic W. I wouldn't be surprised. Anything else you guys loved from this movie as far as jokes?
Oh man, so much. I loved on that scene that you're talking about where he sets the thing on fire. There is like human like Art Deco like masthead people outside, and the men are naked, and the guys have big old stone dicks. And there's a point where he's hanging off the side for his life, like holding the shaft of this stone cock. And then he's like trying to do a pull up, but it makes it look like he's trying to suck.
He's got his mouth open like
And then like he's like terrorizing this woman because like he's come around to the side and it's her apartment and she's terrified, and he kind of wanders in dazed and he has this giant
stone.
like stone, and then it just hard cuts to the mayor is like going up like in battery assault with a stone dildo.
yeah. What were you doing? Yeah. Oh God.
And it is an amazing sight gag.
It's so great. It's so great. We talked a little bit about OJ, but he spends this entire movie just like
in the hospital.
getting more and more like destroyed and injured.
So the boat that Nordberg is investigating is called the I Love You.
Yeah.
And it's smuggling heroin. And so Frank Drebin comes back in to Nordberg's bedside where he's still semi-lucid, you know, but he's like he's slipping into a coma. And he basically just pulls Frank Drebin close and he goes, "I love you."
And he's like, "I love you too, Nordberg."
And then he has like his heroin, and Frank Drebin goes.
He's like,
"That's a tall order,
yeah,
but
might take
it'll
me a couple days."
And then I love the movie even like goes back on its insane joke structure because it does call out when it's silly sometimes as well. Because they hand him the boat, like I found this photo of this boat. It's like, oh Nora, like oh Frank, he wasn't telling you that he loves you. That was the name of the boat. And he's like, yes, I see that now.
That whole scene is great because like Nordberg's wife is just like crying in the background, and Ed Hocken is like, what a way to die. And he's like, Leslie Nielsen is like, I don't know. I mean, parachute forgetting to open, that's the way to die.
That's a man's way to go.
Yeah, he's like getting sucked into a combine. That's the way to die. And his wife is just like, oh my God.
Like anything that you need, like we'll still pay for Norbert. He's like, well, but the money's gonna run out at some point.
Yeah, he's just being so serious and like saying all the worst things.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man.
I mean, yeah, I don't have like much else to say about this.
Yeah.
There were 2 people in the credits that got credited for being in a deleted scene as well. Like it was like man and woman deleted from fireworks scene. That's right. So good for them.
Yeah, we should say that this is an all-time classic. Even I think Vulture did a list like 2 years ago of the top 50 films, comedy films, and this was number 7, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's been on all sorts of lists. So like,
it is. Don't take our word for it. It is one of the funniest movies out there.
If you haven't seen it, you gotta see it.
We didn't really ruin anything.
No,
you can't. It's kind of unruinable.
Yeah, it really is.
You just gotta see the deliveries, and like these are like professional, serious, amazing actors.
Yeah.
Like taking
just
that,
going for it.
Yeah, taking that and turning like all their timing and everything into comedy gold.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
it's really fantastic and fun to watch, and I wish they made more movies like this.
Sadly, there were no child actors in this movie, so I had nothing to do.
What about the student driver?
She was like
She
a
was not a
grown
child.
woman, yeah.
from the teen driving school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put your arm out, raise your middle finger.
I started looking up stuff about Priscilla Presley, and there was just so much that I was like, I can't deal with this. So I just, like,
well,
left
this
it
was her
behind.
first acting role, I think, right?
Yeah, there was all this stuff about how Elvis took her as a child bride, and then like he wouldn't let her work and all this stuff, and like this was the first time she was able to like do something on her own. He wanted her to stay in the house and like all this horrible stuff. And I was like,
yikes!
So.
Gotta keep making those peanut butter banana sandwiches, or what?
Yeah, make me a sandwich. Yeah.
The only Elvis in my head is Bubba Hotep, played by Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, fair. Well,
or Kurt Russell in the John Carpenter Elvis movie.
Yeah, like we said earlier, this film came out in 1988 and did gangbusters at the box office, despite it being based on a failed TV show. It made 78 million, almost 79 million domestic total gross. So, you know what that means. When a movie makes that much money, there's gonna be
at least 2 more
sequels. Yeah. So before we get to that, how many? I don't know what I was gonna do. How many what's?
Human-sized condoms.
Yeah. How many Titan-sized condoms? How many? I don't know.
It's gonna be a 9 for me. 9 big ones.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 9 as well, because I mean I was thinking about 10, but I want to dock it a little bit because of the like watching it back and being a little bit like the sexism and stuff like that.
Yeah, like there's and I feel like I might like 2 better. I don't remember which jokes go where.
Yeah. This one's a classic. But watching it, today, tarnishes it in my mind slightly, but not that much. Mm-hmm. What about you, Eliz?
Oh, I don't know. You're gonna get mad at me. Maybe a 7.
That's probably one of the highest.
I don't know. It's just a 6 or 7. Yeah, it's just one like. I just think that like there's not a lot in this movie for women. Like really, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like the whole Monty Python thing where like it's like that's just not funny to women as much. Like I don't know. It's not the kind of comedy I like, but I can definitely see why it's so beloved, and I definitely did laugh many times. So.
Cool. Well, I am excited personally, since this one was such a hit, to see what they did with the sequel because I'm
Bigger
assuming,
and better and more money.
Yeah, I'm assuming they went all out, and I'm excited for
20% more sight gags.
the
So
sight
you
gags.
guys already know like what it's going to be about?
I've
So
seen
we
it,
shouldn't
but
do
I-
any predictions?
I remember the baseball plot. I remember the Queen plot. I do not know the plot of this next
I
movie.
don't. Yeah, I don't
Oh,
recall
okay.
them as much. I know I've seen them, but I just don't remember. We should say that the next film is called The Naked Gun: The Smell of Fear.
Oh.
Sorry, The Naked Gun 2.5.
Yeah.
The Smell of Fear.
Which I did not
2.5.
realize it had that subtitle.
Smell of fear.
And I think
The
I feel
Naked
like,
Gun 2.5.
I feel like it's possible the one I saw the most was 33 and a third,
Maybe.
which is the third movie.
Oh my god. I have no predictions. I
I
hope
was gonna
OJ is in it again. That's all.
Yeah, I think he probably
He
is.
is.
I hope he gets. You said he gets more, right?
Yeah.
so-
He rents you cars. It's exciting.
I feel that like I mean, obviously, if he actually did those horrible things, that's horrible, But like, he's a decent actor.
Probably did,
I know. But seriously, like, because the OJ trial happened
leave your
when we were
sunglasses.
so little, like we were really little when the
Yeah,
OJ
yeah.
trial happened, so I didn't really know much about it. And then going to USC, it's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. He probably didn't do it. Like, who cares? Whatever. And then watching American Crime Story this last year, I was like, oh god, he totally did it. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my
yeah, he
god, I had
definitely
no
did it.
idea this whole time. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's like a decent actor, I feel like. So it's kind of
Yeah, he's
sad
funny.
how it all turned out. I really remember him well because I remember my dad made us watch is it the Towering Inferno?
Towering Inferno.
Yeah, when we were little, and that movie scared the crap out of me. But I remember like being like OJ doing a good job in that movie, I guess.
Right.
So
OJ does good job.
OJ, do a good job.
I'm kidding. Yeah, so I think that's going to probably bring us to the end of The Naked Gun.
Case closed.
The Files of Police Squad. Yeah. Case closed on Chapter 1 of the Naked Gun series. In the meantime, Eliz, where can people get in touch with us?
yeah, you can check out all of our episodes and our blog at sequelrights.com. And then on social media, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Sequel Rights.
And Tyler, if people want to show us their love for the love of Benji or The Naked Gun,
Send us unmarked envelopes full of non-sequential Monopoly money. But barring that, rate and review us on iTunes or your Podbeans or your Stitchers or your Stitcher Premiums. I don't know if we're on there, but maybe we're behind the paywall somewhere.
yeah.
I don't think you have to pay. We're definitely on Stitcher.
What is Stitcher? Oh, Stitcher Premium.
Stitcher Premium, there's a paywall.
Oh, okay.
You guys, we love you so much that we're gonna just for free give you all of our episodes without commercials.
We're tearing down
Yeah.
the paywall.
No
They're
commercials.
totally
commercials.
free, and they're sometimes close to an hour long.
We're not stopping you from buying a Lisa mattress, but you don't need to buy one. It's fine. We love you
We
anyway.
cut out all the commercials.
That's right. There are
There
ads,
were.
but
There were many, yeah.
We're too.
You already know
cool
about
for that.
ZipRecruiter.
Exactly. Everyone's already got a Squarespace page. Okay,
Yeah, you got it.
but they do make nice websites. I'm kidding. That's not a commercial.
right.
I was just kidding.
All right.
Well, thanks for being here, you guys. We love you, and we hope that you love us.
Come back
No,
next week.
that's the name of the boat.
Yeah.
I love you.
It's going to take us a couple days, but we'll have your heroin. We'll see you guys next
Oh
week.
God.
All right. Bye.
So like we said earlier in the episode, the marching band that comes out in the end is the USC band on the screen, but the audio is actually the Rice band playing Louie Louie. And so I was able to get a quick interview with Dr. Ken Dye. He's the current director of the Notre Dame band, but he's the former director of the Rice Marching Owl band and a USC alumnus who is their former band manager as well.
Dang.
So he has like weird multiple connections to this, and so he just answered like a couple of questions about that and about OJ. So enjoy this really short interview.
start out, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you became a band director?
Oh, okay. All right. So I went to USC and then taught high school for a few years, and then ended up at Rice University, and that was back in the 80s, and there were several songs that were kind of making a comeback, and one of them was Louie Louie, and so we played a version of Louie Louie back in the 80s, and they did an album called The Best of Louie Louie, and it was produced by Rhino Records. And then the timing happened such that the Naked Gun movie needed a soundtrack, and so they had heard this album and actually used our version playing it. That's about all I remember from the use of that particular song, Louie Louie.
Okay, and since did you work at all to connect them with USC for the actual filming of the scene in the movie?
No, the studio just took the recording off the record or the master tape, whatever they had access to, and they used it.
Okay. I mean, did you think it was pretty funny, that coincidence, though?
I did get a call from Art. He thought it was very coincidental.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know why they decided to use your previously done recording instead of recording the USC band there?
I do not know. I do not know. It's probably just the economy of time.
Yeah. Okay. So once the film came out, was there any response for you and the Rice band? Did you guys get to publicize that or talk about it?
Well, not really. I didn't make that big a deal about it. It's kind of one of those things that just happens in the movie business. In fact, I wouldn't have remembered it unless you brought it up again.
Okay.
So it's just one of those things that happened at the time back in 1988 or whenever that movie came out.
Yeah. Did you like the way that the scene in the film turned out?
I thought the movie was funny. It's probably had more popularity than anybody predicted.
Okay. And so I think you mentioned before to me that the band didn't really receive much for being in the film, just doing the recording.
I don't remember what it was. If it was nominal. It wasn't anything that I remember as a big number.
Okay. So while you were at Rice, did you guys do any other Hollywood type things? Were you used in any other movies?
Not really. We were kind of isolated from the production of movies, so I don't remember doing any movies there. It's not like we were in the backyard of the studios.
Okay. So just as far as Hollywood, what are some other Hollywood or entertainment gigs that you've done with any of your bands that kind of stand out?
Well, I don't really remember we haven't done a lot of movies in being in the Midwest and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly USC has gotten involved for a number of things, and I remember when we were at USC there was a couple of things that Paramount got us involved with, and I'm sure that it was part of the evolution of the USC program.
Mm-hmm. But I think I know at Notre Dame you've done a few music videos and other or TV stuff.
Right, we have. Yeah, we've done music videos with different groups. OK Go in Chicago. We're on the History of Chicago DVD. But we're certainly not in Hollywood's backyard.
Yeah. When working with clients or people that hire you in the entertainment industry, how is that different than your regular performances? Like, how do you work with their crews, or how do you advise your students or prepare them?
We have to be very patient because if you're talking about a special event, perhaps it's being filmed for TV. We've done a number of those, and you're going to have to practice a lot longer than you ever anticipated. There'll be a lot more waiting time than you ever anticipated. And rarely will they show very much of the footage once everything makes it through the editing. But you just have to prepare the students that if this is something that you commit to, you're going to have to be very patient.
Okay, great. And then why do you think that so many movies and television shows and TV specials like to feature marching bands in the first place?
Well, it's where they can get a lot of extras all with one phone call. And for a nominal amount of production costs, they can, get this. And sometimes they use the uniform from the university. Sometimes they come up with other, bizarre uniforms. I know when we did the music video for OK Go, it was all over the place as far as costuming. But, that becomes an all-day or a multi-day affair when you do that stuff.
Okay. And then I know that you were at USC as a student just after O.J. Simpson's time there on the football team. What were those days like? Did you ever cross paths with him?
I did, walking across campus to Cromwell Field
Okay.
only one time. And he nodded at me. He didn't know me, and I think I barely knew him. But, he was certainly a famous part of history.
Yeah. And how was he seen on campus? Was he, very revered?
Well, at that time, that would have been 1969, and he would have just had some of those big plays against the UCLA game and at the Rose Bowl, I believe. And, he was pretty much a big star running back. And John McKay was still there. Marv Goo was still there. And it was, kind of part of the history of USC football.
Okay. Once the whole thing happened with him being accused of murder and the whole trial being on TV, as a USC alumni that was working at Notre Dame, how did you kind of perceive all of that, and how were people reacting around you?
Well, that would have been a long time ago, because I would have probably been, I don't know, I was probably in Texas at the time.
Oh, okay.
It was puzzling how that all came to. It was almost beyond belief that all that would happen, but I do not know any of the details. I'm sure people have become experts on it since.
Yeah. So as a USC alum, how do you think that he is viewed now?
Well, I think he's a curiosity is all. I don't have any clue for, obviously he was a good football player. I don't know what happened, thereafter.
Yeah.
So, anybody's guess.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you wanted to say about the Naked Gun movie? I mean, do you ever go back and watch it?
I mean, it's a funny movie that I would YouTube a scene now and then, and you'd have to be in just the right mood to want to watch the whole thing.
Yeah, okay. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me. I really appreciate it.
Okay, good luck with your project.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.